Hey, good morning. It's Edna. Keep here live with Free Coaching Friday. So just to start with, if you want my help transitioning to a full-time real estate entrepreneur, go to 90days-5k.com. Today, we're going to talk about how to exit bad deals. Sometimes students' mind will say, I'm starting to learn how to structure deals, how to set them up so that my investors are happy and everything. But in the past, I've actually had bad deals, and I want to know, how do you exit those bad deals when you have joint venture partners? Here's the answer to my question today. So first of all, thanks very much for that question. It's very, very important because you know what? If you're a real estate entrepreneur for any length of time, you've had some bad deals. There's just no way around it. Maybe you've had a deal yourself that you wish that you could get out of, and you absolutely know that it's not that easy, right? Because what do you do when you've got something that's not performing properly? Most of the time it's because the market is not good. It's not because of anything you've done, but sometimes stuff happens in the market that you can't control. Things like, locally here, we've been in an overbuild situation for a few years where some builders built many condos, and those condos are now competing with our apartment buildings. So it does cause for higher vacancy. In some instances, some of the areas are okay. They're not affected as bad than other areas. If you got a brand new building right behind your building that can't sell as a condo, so they're renting it out, and the rents are the same thing you're getting in your older building, chances are pretty good that you're going to lose some of those tenants. And that's exactly what happened to us. So how do you exit a bad deal? Well, you know what? Sometimes you can't exit unless you want to take a really big loss. So you have to hang on. You can market your property, market yourself, market it through realtors, but you don't always get the price that you're looking for to break even. So if it's really bad, sometimes you just have to take the loss, and it's unfortunate, but you just do. So if you want to do that, then sell it at the loss, get your investors paid back as much as entirely possible. In your case, it may mean that you don't end up with anything, but you know what? That's one deal. Hopefully it's not your first deal because it is tough. Save some of your money that you get, maybe for your acquisition fees and stuff, to help that transition, because you never ever go in thinking that bad stuff's going to happen, but sometimes the market corrects and you have no choice but to get out or talk to your investors about hanging on. You know what? Sometimes that 5-year plan turns into a 10-year plan. You know what? That 10-year plan is still way better than 95% of the investments out there. So keep that in mind, and keep that top of mind when investors aren't happy with you, and when you're going through the challenges with it. Just say, if you can handle ahead of time those expectations and manage those expectations, your investors are gonna know that there's a chance of this happening. So make sure you talk about that. I have scenarios that I go through with each of my investors. There's our best case scenario, and this is it. It might be renovate quickly, refinance quickly, get your money back quickly. We have been able to do that as quick as 18 months. One of our larger deals, 36 months. And then sometimes your plan to do that, renovate, increase rents to so that you can pull out the equity and pay your investors back. Sometimes that doesn't always work. So that's where the backup plan comes in, that you just have to hold things longer. So make sure you talk to people about those different scenarios. So you could say, this is our home run scenario. This is what we're hoping is going to happen. This is our realistic scenario, probably what will happen. And then here's our worst case scenario. Or let's say bad case scenario. So maybe it takes us, instead of the 5 years that we told you up front, maybe it takes us 10 years. You know what? You still, when you add in your mortgage pay down, your equity appreciation, your cash flow, that stuff, it's still going to be better than, mortgage pay down alone, a lot of times 5-6%. People can't get that at the bank, and a lot of times not even in their mutual funds, but especially with it out going up and down all the time. So think that through, discuss it with people, and if they can't live through those ups and downs, just realize that they're probably not your best bet for an investor. So if you've done your homework, you've done all your due diligence, and you've set your investors up, then most likely they should be able to go through the challenging times with you and come out the other side, and then you can all be winners. It still reminds me of this fellow I listened to on a podcast. He wasn't talking about exiting a bad deal, but he was talking about I think the question that the podcast host had said to him was, what would you tell your 20 years ago self that I could share with our listeners? And he said, you know what, I would talk to my 20 years ago self. I think he was, I can't remember his age. I think he was 50 now. So he said, I would tell my 30-year-old self, don't worry so much about the short term. He said, I just refinanced a building that I bought 20 years ago and pulled out $2 million. And he said, I paid $550,000 on it. So he says, at the time, my biggest concern was, I thought I should buy it for $15,000 less than the seller wanted to sell it for. And he says, I was back and forth to that poor guy like 8-9 months. And he said, my only saving grace was that the market wasn't good and he didn't have any other buyers. Because he said, now when I look back, I think, you know what, 20 years, it goes by like a flash. And here I am pulling $2 million out of my property. So make sure you talk about those scenarios too. And then if you really, really need to sell, you know what, reach out to somebody in your network who understands distressed situations and can help you get out of them, because sometimes you have to get out of them, and a fellow investor will understand that. And there's companies out there now, because I've watched them, they're large companies, people that have built up their portfolio over the last 20 years. They're very, very, very actively buying right now, and they're getting some really, really good deals. Well, again, that's how you make money long term, is by getting those really, really good deals. So if you're thinking about buying and you're not sure where to start, again, reach out, get my help. I think now is a really good time to get into our market. So reach out to me at 90daysto5k.com, and I can help you get started. Have a really, really good day, everyone, and we'll talk to you all next week. Bye for now. Hey, hi TJ, hi Rick, nice to see you guys on.